In the ancient city of Babylon, nestled between the mighty Tigris and Euphrates rivers, a civilization flourished that sought to understand not only the mysteries of the heavens and the earth, but also the great enigma that is death. What happens when we die? As one who has lived among the wise and the learned, I, too, have pondered deeply the fate of the soul once it has left the mortal body. Shall we find eternal peace, or shall we descend into a dark, forsaken place, lost to the will of the gods? Let us embark together on this journey of contemplation, for it is one that binds us all. In Babylon, our thoughts on death are shaped by the teachings of our priests and the ancient myths passed down through generations. It is said that when a man or woman dies, the soul in its ethereal form journeys to the great underworld, a realm known as Irkalla, or simply the land of no return. Irkalla is not a place of light and joy, but rather one of shadow and gloom. The gods themselves, in their wisdom, decreed that death must be a realm of quiet finality, where the souls of the deceased will never return to the world of the living. Can one imagine a more sorrowful fate than to dwell in a place where light never touches? The underworld is ruled by the goddess Ereshkigal, a fearsome and stern deity who governs over the spirits of the departed. She does not offer comfort or warmth to those who enter her domain. Instead, she presides over the souls with impartiality, ensuring that the dead remain in their place. We, the living, cannot fathom the true nature of this land. How can we, who are bathed in the light of the sun, understand the cold and silence that envelops the spirits in Irkalla? Our sages tell us that when a soul enters Irkalla, it does not simply vanish into the ether. Rather, it exists in a diminished state, deprived of the joy and vitality that it once knew. It is said that the soul will wander through the darkened halls of the underworld, stripped of all earthly pleasures. It is no longer able to eat the food of the living, nor taste the sweet fruits that once delighted the senses. Instead, the spirit feeds on dust and clay, a miserable existence of endless yearning and unfulfilled longing. But is this not a curious contradiction? If the soul is deprived of its former joys, then what remains of it? How can something so vital, so full of life, simply cease to be? Does the soul retain a spark of its former self, or is it bound forever to wander aimlessly through this desolate realm? And if it does retain some spark, what does that mean for the nature of life and death? Is the soul eternally tormented, or is there perhaps some hope of redemption, of return? The Babylonians did not hold out much hope for such redemption. Unlike the later teachings of the Persians or the Greeks, our beliefs do not promise an afterlife filled with reward or punishment, nor do we see a grand resurrection of the body. In our view, death is final. The soul exists as a shadow, drifting in the dark, forever separated from the living. But let us not mistake this for complete despair. For while the soul may remain in the underworld, its journey there is not one of utter destruction. Rather, it is a journey of transformation, a shedding of the old self in preparation for something beyond our comprehension. Why is it that some souls must endure this grim fate, while others are granted a place of favor among the gods? The answer, according to our wisdom, lies with the gods themselves. Babylonian society is founded upon the belief in the will and power of the divine, and the gods are seen as the ultimate arbiters of fate. Each of us, born into this world, is subject to the forces of the gods, who, through their immense power, guide and shape the course of our lives and our deaths. In our stories, the gods are depicted as being both merciful and wrathful. They bestow blessings upon those they favor, and they curse those who fall out of favor. Our priests often say that death, in its most final form, is a consequence of divine judgment. When a soul is judged by the gods, they decide whether it will be granted peace or condemned to wander the underworld. The decision is based upon the actions of the living, the choices one makes during life. Did the individual honor the gods through sacrifices and prayers? Did they live righteously, following the laws of the land and the will of the divine? Or did they falter, yielding to greed, wrath, or selfishness? One must ask, if we are bound to the will of the gods, how then can we exert our own will over the fate of our soul? Do we have any agency in the afterlife? Or are we mere pawns in the hands of forces beyond our control? It is a question that has perplexed even the most learned of our philosophers. Our sages would often say that the gods are not bound by the same moral structures that we are. Their actions are governed by an otherworldly sense of justice, one that we may never fully understand. In this, perhaps, there is some comfort. Our fate is not entirely arbitrary, but part of a grand divine plan. Perhaps the most profound question, then, is whether the living can do anything to influence the fate of the dead. If the soul's journey is dictated by divine will, can we, through our actions, ease its passage into the afterlife? The answer lies in the rituals and prayers we perform for the deceased. Our ancestors have taught us that the gods will listen to the pleas of the living, and it is our duty to honor the spirits of our departed loved ones with the proper rites. We offer sacrifices of food and drink, and we recite prayers to the gods, asking for their mercy and compassion. These rituals are not mere gestures, but sacred acts that establish a connection between the living and the dead. Through them, we may offer comfort to the souls in Irkala, perhaps even guiding them toward a more peaceful existence. However, the journey of the soul is not one we can control entirely. It is the gods who ultimately decide the fate of each soul, and our rituals serve as a humble means of seeking their favor. In the end, perhaps this is the most important lesson we must learn: that life and death are not solely within our grasp. We are but small players in a grand cosmic drama, and our lives are shaped by forces greater than ourselves. Yet, it is through our actions, our devotion to the gods, and our respect for the sacred rituals that we can hope to bring peace to our own souls and the souls of our ancestors. In this, there is meaning and perhaps even some comfort. As I reflect upon these mysteries, I am left with a deep sense of awe and wonder. The fate of the soul, its journey to the underworld, and its ultimate destination remain beyond our full comprehension. Yet, in contemplating death, we learn much about life itself. We are reminded of the fragility of our existence, of the fleeting nature of our time on earth. And in this reminder, we are called to live with honor, to cherish our days, and to seek favor with the gods.